So guys, today we're talking about fire ants, and we're going to use 3 unconventional methods to get rid of them. One involves these right here, and if you know this name, Amdro is a very famous name in the fire ant and the ant destroying business. So I'm going to use one of these. I'm going to use some extremely powerful 75% vinegar along with some baking soda and one of these instruments right here that I've never used. I've never tested it, but we're going to try that out today on some fire ants and see how it works. So let's get started on taking care of some large fire ant mounds. So guys, the first thing I'm talking about is this right here. It's a weed torch, and you just assemble it pretty easily. It's not difficult. You just take it, put it together like this. I ordered it off Amazon because I thought it looked really cool, and it's got an igniter on it, and you just use some camping Coleman, I'll show you a picture, all-purpose propane right there. One of these small tanks. It's easier to carry around than the large, extremely heavy like the ones you use on your grill, so that makes it a lot easier to go around the yard. So you just want to make sure you line the threads up properly and slowly put it in there. And so I'll show you in just a second. It has an igniter on the side of this, and this may be more fun than, there's your lighter right there, your end right here, your business end of it, and that's going to take care of some fire ants really quickly. Some small mounds. This is not going to destroy a massive mound, but where I have it in the garden, where I have small mounds popping up, this is going to work great. So we're going to attach this to the bottom of our little gun here. They've made it in kind of the shape of an old-fashioned flintlock pistol, which I thought was really funny. But anyways, let's head out to the garden outside the greenhouse and see if we can find a few small fire ant mounds. So I think this is going to be most effective for really small mounds like you see here popping up around the gravel area of my garden. I see fire ants all around it. So this is really easy to ignite. We're just going to twist this until we hear some gas coming out. Okay, and just for demonstration, I'm going to cut that off because I don't want it to ignite just yet. We have an igniter right here, which is just lets out a little spark. So it's super simple to light. If you want to see about getting one of these, if they're still selling them on Amazon, I can't say they are because I purchased this a couple months ago. So if they are, I'll put the link in the description, or one that I think is just as good or similar. So let's turn it back on. So as you can see, this thing puts out a lot of heat, and it puts it out quickly. I don't know how long this will last, but if you just have 1 or 2 large mounds, you might even try it. We're going to head out to the other part of the yard where we have some very large mounds. We'll test it on one of those large mounds as well. Okay, this one is about 1 foot to maybe 1.5 feet in diameter, so I'm going to relight our torch here. We're going to go across the top, and we're going to see what happens when the fire ants come in contact with some 2,000-degree heat. Okay, after about 60 seconds, I'm looking carefully on the screen here to see if I can see any, but I think we've taken care of the ants on the surface. Now, they may have went further back down into the colony. I'm going to check this again later, maybe give them another dose, but as far as I can tell, we may have really taken care of them in one quick blast. So let me feel around here and see if we can get any to the surface. And while this soil is blazing hot, it still feels like it's, and here's a lot of eggs. And usually you would have a lot of ants protecting this area right here, but nothing's coming up so far. So lots of eggs, but no ants. And normally when you put your hand on a fire ant mound, you start messing around their egg area, their egg, whatever you call those, the little storage areas where they keep the eggs. You would see a massive amount of fire ants just coming to the surface and attacking. So I don't see any here. Nothing at all. I see a few maybe around the edges, maybe that were out scouting for food, but as far as right around here in the nest, I'm not seeing any coming to the surface there. So maybe this works. It may take a second blast because the first one may have not reached, the heat may have not reached far enough down into the bed, depending on how deep they've burrowed, maybe 1, 2, or 3 feet. So it may take a second blast, but it seems to have really worked well on a first initial blast of our unusual little flintlock heat gun. Now this one literally popped up I believe, in a matter of just hours. But if you just touch it, you can see the ants can feel the vibrations from my finger. And I'm hoping that's visible on camera. And there's a lot of ants, fire ants specifically, in this bed. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just take some regular baking soda. The first test was actually the fire test, the thermal test. This test is going to be baking soda, a chemical reaction. So we're just going to put this all over the bed heavily, maybe use half the box, and we're going to see how well a chemical reaction. Now, I will say, when you're using this vinegar, this specific vinegar I got from Amazon, I believe it was, and I'll put a link in the description if they're still selling it. Most vinegars you find at the grocery store are going to be 3 to 4%, but this one is extremely potent. It's 75%. So make sure you're wearing gloves. I don't have any on because I'm shooting the video and it's hard to handle all the electronics with gloves on, so I'm going to be extra careful. But also, you want to have eye protection and face protection, so just be extremely careful with those. Okay, so I'm off camera, so I will show you that I do have some really nice eye protection. If you like these, which I think they work great, I can wear my glasses on under them, and it provides me a little bit of added protection around the outer edges in case there's any kind of splashback. Also, I will be wearing these gloves. So these leather gloves, probably I should be wearing chemical gloves, and I don't happen to have any. So I'm just going to use this, and we're going to add a little bit more baking soda, and we're going to put in our 75% vinegar. All right, so after waiting about 5 minutes, I'm seeing some exiting their nest area, and it looks like it didn't do much because the ones that survived were probably down a little bit lower. You'd probably have to use a whole gallon or two to get down to the bottom of the nest. So the potency maybe not as important as volume. If you want to do a massive volume of vinegar, maybe a gallon, put a like a oil funnel on the top of it, put in the vinegar all around it, sprinkle the vinegar in the funnel, and then allow the vinegar to go down deep into the nest. So do I think this would work just on the surface? No, because we don't know how deep this goes. Maybe 1, 2, maybe even 3 feet below the surface. So as far as a successful trial here, I don't think it is, because I'm seeing a lot of ants coming out alive. There are some that are dying pretty quickly, but I think that vinegar just on the surface is not enough. You're going to need a lot more. I've got a whole gallon of the regular kitchen vinegar, so I'm going to bring a funnel out here and use that. Now, to make this, when I said funnel, I could use just a regular oil funnel or something I have in my garage, but I thought about it and I said, I want to make a funnel that goes deeper into the nest where we can hopefully get to the queen in the nest. So I've just taken an ordinary 1 gallon water bottle. Then I've taken a piece of PVC, I believe it's about 1 inch. We're going to flip it over and we're going to cut the bottom out of this, and we're going to have an extra large funnel, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into the nest. Now, you can make the piece of PVC as far as you can jam it in there, but that's what we want to do. We want to get this chemical solution to the queen. All right, so we're just going to do a quick modification on this water bottle. Now we have an extra large funnel that's going to put our chemical deep into the nest and hopefully kill the queen and quite a bit of the workers and soldiers down there. So I am seeing some more ants still continuing to exit the nest, but what we're going to do is we're going to put this as deep as we can into the nest. All right, and then we're going to put in quite a bit more of the, we're going to empty out the box of baking soda, the whole box. And the last thing we're going to do, we're going to use kitchen vinegar on this rather than our 75%, because I don't want to waste this. I've got some other uses for this type of vinegar that has a high concentration. So let me get our kitchen vinegar that's only 3 or 4%, and we're going to do the same thing, allow it to go into the nest. So again, we're just using about 1 gallon, and this is only about half full. So actually our total usage is going to be about half a gallon, ordinary 4% acidity, normal white vinegar. As you can see, the chemical reaction is still taking place, and I'm allowing it to slowly drain into the nest over a period of the next 4 or 5 minutes. I think it will completely empty itself into the bottom of this nest, and hopefully will kill the queen and everyone else in the nest before they have a chance to reproduce and build another nest somewhere else in my yard. So just to make that point one more time about using very strong vinegars and the solution I talked about, make sure you wear eye protection, hand protection. Long sleeve shirts may be a good option. Not for me right now because it's way too hot. And a face mask. I can't wear a face mask because this microphone, as sensitive as it is, you will not be able to hear me, and I will sound like Charlie Brown's teacher trying to tell you how to do this. So just remember, face, eyes, arms, hands is a good idea to do those types of protection. But it really works. One other thing I will tell you about the funnel I built, in the funnel part, when you jam it down into the soil, you're going to have a certain amount of compaction going into the end of it. So you might want to drill small, tiny 1/16 inch holes down the length of it, so it will put more of the solution into the ant bed as you push it down, depending on how long it is. So that's one thing I probably should have done, but I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there. It was an idea that came to me because it was draining slowly into the bed. If you want to get it in there quicker, drill those holes the full length of your piece of PVC, and you might actually use one that's 2 to 3 feet if your ant bed is quite a bit larger and older. They probably went deeper into the soil. Now the last thing I'm using is this right here, made by Amdro, and it's been in the greenhouse for years and years and years. I tried to find a link to put in the description for you from Amazon, and they will not ship it to you from Amazon, but you can find these at local hardware stores, Ace hardware stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, and even small mom and pop hardware stores. They're not hard to find, but I will put a description of what it's called down there. So let's head out to the last one. The reason I'm using these in the grass area is because this vinegar is going to leave a dead patch in any area you use it. So if you're putting this anywhere near a bush or a plant, know that these can kill vegetation very easily. So if you have an open area with an ant bed where there's no vegetation growing, this would be the way to go. The same with the torch. If you're using the torch, you're going to have a bald spot in your grass. So these little Amdro sticks right here will not kill the grass. It will go deep into the nest and kill the entire nest. I think these are the most effective. They're really not designed for ants, but the way I'm going to use it, I'll show you exactly how to make it work. Super simple. Again, eye protection, face mask, and also protection for your hands as well. Although it looks like a stick of dynamite, it doesn't work exactly the same way. So let's head out to the last 2 nests, and I'll do both nests before we sign off. Okay guys, one thing I will tell you about these, do not push these into the ground because they'll build up pressure. You want a nice column where you can just drop it in there. So I'm taking a paddle bit, I'm going to go in the center of the ant bed. Remember, the ants are going to start flushing out very quickly and they're going to be quite angry. So remember, you want to get your drill away as quick as possible. Okay, now we've got our very angry mob of ants. We're going to light our Amdro stick here and stick it into our bed and see what happens. Now one thing I will tell you, these are not explosive sticks. They slowly release gas, and this one I think is through, but it slowly releases gas down into the nest. And you may need to take 2 of these. I'm going to light another one and just set it off to the side so you can see how much smoke is coming out. So there's nothing really to fear in these, but you just need to make sure you don't do that and you shove them where they become pressurized and they can shoot out of the nest. So guys, technically these are called gopher gassers, and that I'll put the link in the description if they're still available somewhere. I know that Amazon would not ship these to me. I had to pick these up at a hardware store. and I haven't bought any of these in a long time. So as far as I know, they are still at most hardware stores. So just remember that technically these are used for rodents burrowing under your lawn. So technically, I think there might be something burrowing under my lawn. So I will say this is good for moles and gophers as well. So guys, if you have a question or a comment you want me to read, I get a lot of comments and questions, and a lot of times I just don't have that many hours in a day to answer all of them. So if you'll please become a public subscriber first, and then I filter all my comments that way, so I'll see your question or comment, I can respond to it or answer your question in the most honest and accurate way I can. That's what I'm always here to do, is I'm trying to give everybody the best advice that I know how to give and things that have worked for me around my greenhouse and garden. So guys, I hope this has been helpful. Three unconventional ways to get rid of fire ants in your garden. And the reason I hate fire ants is they've already bitten me 3 times a day. And my wife, while working out in the garden, she is always attacked by fire ants. So I'm always in a battle against fire ants, and I just hate them because they really hurt her and leave blisters and scarring on her feet. So it's really a tough thing for a lot of people who are highly allergic to fire ants. So guys, have a great day.